Hello everybody, how you doing? I hope you're all doing really well. Welcome back to my channel and to a highly requested, very exciting foodie video. This is going to be my top 5 pasta recipes. Yes, you all know I love a bit of pasta. I think I've got some Italian in me, I swear. This is going to be my top 5 selected vegetarian pasta recipes. They're dead easy, dead simple, really straightforward ingredients, super tasty. You can feed your family, feed your friends if you're allowed to have them in. And yeah, it's just really, really tasty. It's going to be 5, very simple. I will leave them all linked down below. I'll write out the recipes as well if you want to follow along at home. This evening we're going to be doing a very delicious spiced aubergine chili roasted pasta. It's absolutely banging, really, really tasty. I'm going to show you the ingredients you're going to need. If you do enjoy this video, as always, if you could give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to click subscribe down below as well. I'll link a lot of my other 5 ingredient or alternative meal recipe inspiration down below. Without further ado, let's get into the video. So this is going to be pasta recipe number 1. As I said, it's going to be a chili roasted aubergine fusili pasta. So for the ingredients you're going to need fusili. You can of course use any pasta that you'd like, penne, rigatoni, conchiglione, anything like that. Any good classic pasta, you're on a winner. You're going to need some chestnut mushrooms. We're not going to use these portobello, they were just in the same container. So yeah, it's about, I'd say 100 grams of chestnut mushrooms, some passata, vegetarian parmesan, some Italian ricotta. You're also going to need a white onion. You can of course use red if you've got that. 1 whole red chili, some spring onions, some garlic, and of course, you can't do an aubergine pasta without an aubergine. And that's it. Okay, so to start off, you're going to want to top until your aubergine. Give it a little wash and then slice it in half and then half again. And then you want to cut it up into, I'd say quarters, but you can cut it as large or small as you'd like. Bearing in mind, this is what it's going to be in your pasta. Add that into a roasting tin and give it a good drizzle of some olive oil, some salt and some pepper. And then you want to put that into a preheated oven at around 200 degrees for 20 minutes until the aubergine starts to brown and goes nice and soft. Then you want to top and tail your white onion. Again, you can use a red onion if you'd like, and then just roughly dice that up. And then while you're waiting for your aubergine to roast, you want to cook your pasta. So add a recently boiled kettle to a pan and season your water. And then in a separate pan, you want to soften down your onions until they're nice and translucent. It takes around 10 minutes in total. Just making sure you're constantly stirring them because you don't want them to burn. And then you want to start on your chili. So this is a red chili. You can use whichever chili you'd like. I just removed the seeds to try and stop the heat being too intense. And do remember to wash your hands as well after you've handled fresh chili, because I didn't and I accidentally got it in my eye. So add that straight into the pan with your onions and give that a nice little stir. And then in the meantime, you want to cook your pasta. So like I said, we're using fusili, but you can use whichever you'd like. I'm just chopping up some fresh spring onions here. And then also doing the same with the garlic. I add the garlic in after just because garlic has a tendency to burn. So just give everything a nice little rough chop. It doesn't have to be too fancy, don't worry. And then add that into your pan with your onions and chili. And then once all that's nice and soft, you want to add in a whole can of passata. You can use whichever passata you'd like. I'm just using the classic tomato one. And then you want to chop up some of your lovely chestnut mushrooms. I didn't use too many in the end. I add them in now just because I really like the texture of them, but you can add them in at the start if you want them a bit softer. Stir all that through your lovely tomato and chili. Give your fusili a little bit of a stir as well to make sure that's nice and cooked. I love my pasta al dente, I always have. And by that time your aubergine should be nice and roasted, so you can add that straight into your tomato sauce. This is eggplant for those of you who are from the US as well. I know we call it different in the UK. So you can add your cooked pasta straight into your tomato sauce. I add some of the pasta water as well, which just makes it beautifully creamy. Give it a good lovely stir. And then I added in around 2 tablespoons of wonderful Italian ricotta. And this just makes the pasta beautifully creamy. Give it a nice season with some salt and some pepper. I also forgot to mention, but I add a bit of fresh lemon zest. Whenever I do tomato sauces, I just love to add lemon. I think it really it brightens up the dish. And then it's ready to serve. It's so creamy, beautifully spiced, a little bit warm. I top it with some fresh vegetarian parmesan. And that is it. Oh, and basil as well. Sorry, I forgot to mention basil. But yeah, basil and parmesan pretty much go on all of my pasta dishes. And that is your spicy pasta done. So it's day 2 of the delicious pasta recipes, and this evening we're doing one of my favourite pasta dishes of all time ever. It is a butternut squash mac and cheese. This recipe isn't my own, it's from the wonderful Nigella Lawson. It's fantastic, I make it all the time. Let me show you the ingredients. So you are gonna need, this recipe is an absolute awesome base. You can put any veg you want in it. Sweet potato works to dream. We're using a wonderful butternut squash. We're using macaroni, obviously, again, you can use any pasta you'd like. To make the roux, you're gonna need flour, some milk, and some cheese and butter. We're also gonna top it with some parmesan and some feta. We've got some English mustard powder, some salt and pepper, and then flavorings, we're using sage. Woo! We're using some sage, this is dried sage, and some sweet paprika. So genuinely very easy ingredients, and I'll leave the recipe down below. Let's get cracking. Okay, to start with the mac and cheese, you wanna peel your butternut squash, top and tail it, cut it in half, and then you want to try to do this without damaging your hands, guys, and then actually remove the seeds. You can keep the seeds and roast them later on. They're a beautiful topping for the pasta. Chop it up into around 2 centimeter chunks, and then you want to add some kettle water to a pan, and you want to cook your butternut squash for around 10 to 15 minutes until it goes nice and soft. And then in a pan, I'm using a pan that you can actually put in the oven. You want to melt your butter and then add your flour and whisk that together to make your roux. So this is like the base of your white sauce, and then you want to add in your milk. Add this bit by bit or gradually, because if you add in all at once you get a horrible lumpy sauce. You want to do it nice and slow. In the meantime, just strain out your butternut squash, and in the same pan cook your macaroni in the pasta water. By that time, your roux should have thickened up beautifully, so you want to add in your seasoning. So that's the mustard powder, paprika, and then you want to crumble in your feta, and that makes it a beautifully cheesy sauce. And then you want to grate in your cheddar as well. So we've got 2 cheeses in here, feta and cheddar. It's a very cheesy mac and cheese. By that time your pasta should have cooked, so this is a macaroni, it takes little to no time to cook, so you just want to pour that directly into your pan. I very rarely strain the pasta because I love the pasta water, it makes it beautifully creamy. Then you want to stir in the butternut squash, and again add some more pasta water until you've got your desired consistency. Make it a little bit looser because when it bakes it actually does thicken up in the oven and you don't want it too stodgy. Top it with the cheese of your choice. I do cheddar and a bit of parmesan. Sprinkle over some sweet smoked paprika and then your sage leaves, and then pop that directly into the oven for around 20 minutes to half an hour until the top is beautifully crispy and golden brown. And that is your butternut squash mac and cheese. It is such a winter warmer. It's absolutely delicious to have on its own. You can have it with a rocket side salad, some garlic bread, whatever you fancy. It is just like, this is a proper indulgent dinner as a treat, but it is delightful. Okay, so it's the third pasta dish of this video, and this is a delicious, creamy, huge, chunky pasta with pine nuts, lemon, and Cavolo Nero. It's absolutely delicious. I'm going to show you the ingredients. Okay, so this recipe actually traditionally uses Swiss chard, but I actually couldn't find any, so we're going to use Cavolo Nero, which is just like a really nice, good textured leafy green. We've got some rocket, olive oil, this pasta, which is like huge, huge rigatoni shells. We've got some spring onions, some unwaxed lemon, creme fraiche, chili flakes. We've got some nutmeg, some garlic cloves, and some pine nuts. And that is everything, and I'll leave the whole ingredients list down below. Start off, you want to top and tail your spring onions. Don't take off too much of the green. Give them a bit of a wash and then just roughly chop them up. And do the same with your garlic. Again, doesn't have to be too fancy. Then grab your Cavolo Nero. You can use Swiss chard if you prefer, or any like nice robust leafy green. Just removing the stalks and then just roughly chop that up. Again, it doesn't have to be too particular. Add some kettle water into a pan, and then in a skillet or saucepan add some extra virgin olive oil, and then you want to chop up the stalks of your Cavolo Nero as well, because we're going to be using them, so this is a completely zero waste recipe. So into your pan add your spring onions and the stalks of your Cavolo Nero, and just soften them down until they're beautifully soft. The stalks might take a little longer than you think, so check them. Then cook your pasta, and then add your greens of your Cavolo Nero into your stalks that have softened down. In the meantime, you can toast your pine nuts. These don't take very long at all, so definitely keep an eye on them. Then add some smoked chili flakes into your Cavolo Nero and spring onions and give those a stir. And then some fresh lemon zest from an unwaxed lemon. This just elevates the dish and gives it a lovely freshness. Check your pine nuts because, like I say, they do have a tendency to burn. And then in a separate bowl, you want to mix up some creme fraiche and the juice of one of the lemons that you've used from the zest. Just squeeze it through your hands just so you don't get any pips in there. Give that a little stir, a grain of nutmeg. Cheese and nutmeg is just like a match made in heaven. So yeah, stir all that together. And then add in your cooked pasta straight into your Cavolo Nero. Again, pop some pasta water in there as well, it just loosens it up.
And then you want to add in your wonderful creme fraiche mixture into the pan with some rocket and just stir all that together. This is arugula, for those of you from the US, by the way, that's what rocket is. And then add in some of your pasta water as well, just to make it beautifully creamy and smooth. Season it with some salt and some pepper. And then it's time to plate it up. It's a beautifully fresh, really nice and healthy pasta. Just top it with your toasted pine nuts, some chili flakes, pepper, and some parmesan, obviously. And that is your wonderful Cavolo Nero pine nut pasta.
Okay, so it's day 3 of my top 5 pasta dishes, and this one is a classic. I absolutely love it. It's a sweet leek carbonara. So traditionally carbonara would have some kind of like pancetta or pork or guanciale. This has leeks, so I'm gonna show you the ingredients. Relatively straightforward, simple carbonara ingredients. We're gonna need some eggs. We've got some fresh free range eggs, spaghetti. Of course, you can use tagliatelle if you'd prefer, or linguine. We've got leeks, we've got 4 wonderful sweet leeks. We've got some vegetarian parmesan, some olive oil, some black pepper, and we also need some garlic and some thyme. So really, really easy ingredient, and the results at the end will be delightful.
Okay, so I top and tail the leeks and give them a wash. I definitely recommend washing your leeks because they can get like a little bit dirty and gritty. So top and tail them and then just pat them off with a towel. Then once you've cut them in half them and then cut them into like matchstick style batons. The thinner you can make it, the better. You almost want to like mimic a spaghetti stick for this. So yeah, the thinner the better. And then in a large pan, because we're cooking spaghetti, add some kettle water. Obviously season it. Always season your pasta water, guys. And then in a separate pan, soften some butter down and then add in your leeks. Now you want to do this in a fairly low heat. I'm using a big cast iron skillet here. A pan that's fairly large is perfect, and just soften them down for around 15 minutes. In the meantime, you want to prep your thyme. So I just got around 5 or 6 thyme stalks, removed them from the stems and then popped that into the leeks. I roughly chopped up some garlic. I add that towards the end again because you don't want it to burn. And then pop that into your skillet with your sweet leeks. As you can see, they're going nice and beautifully golden brown and crispy. This is perfect. Now it's time to make the base of your carbonara. So you want to whisk up 2 eggs, whole eggs, not just the yolks. Add a very generous scrunch of black pepper. Then you can cook your spaghetti. We're using spaghetti, but of course you can use tagliatelle or linguine. And then grate some of your parmesan and add that into your egg and black pepper mixture. This might look like a lot of parmesan, but trust me, it makes a beautifully creamy carbonara sauce. Always verge on the edge of al dente with your spaghetti, because once you add it straight into your skillet, it'll continue cooking. So add that into your leeks and give that a good stir. Add some more black pepper. With a carbonara, do overdo it with the pepper because trust me, the flavour will be amazing. Turn it off the heat. Don't add your egg mixture to a hot pan, otherwise it will scramble. Being careful just to really mix it as quickly as you possibly can, and then add in a good splash of the pasta water. This just makes it really creamy. Trust me, pasta water is your best friend whenever you're cooking pasta. And add a good grating of some fresh parmesan, more black pepper, more pasta water. It's kind of processed. Give it a good toss. And that is your delightfully creamy and rich leek carbonara. Honestly guys, if you've never tried this, I would say do it. It is so easy. You need a handful of ingredients and the end result is just, it's probably one of my favourite pasta dishes. Just top it with some fresh parmesan, more black pepper, you get the drill, a drizzle of olive oil, and that's your sweet leek carbonara. Easy as that.
Okay, so this is pasta number 5 and the final pasta dish of this video, and this is one of my absolute favourites. Anything with pesto, I'm so all about it. This is a delicious pesto, courgette and tomato rigatoni. It's so easy, so tasty. Let me show you the ingredients. Okay, so ingredients you're going to need. We're going to be using rigatoni for this, but of course you can use whichever pasta you'd like. We've got some cherry tomatoes, 3 courgettes, 2 cloves of garlic, 1 lemon, unwaxed preferably, some rocket, some vegetarian parmesan, some creme fraiche, and of course, some vegetarian pesto.
Okay, so I topped and tailed the courgettes and then just gave them a quick rinse, and then I sliced them in half and then cut them into smallish chunks. And I just did that with all 3 of the leeks. I added some Catleugh water to a pan and then seasoned the water, and then in my little skillet I added some olive oil, and then I just softened down the courgettes for around 10 minutes. You want them to be soft but not like overcooked, so definitely check them. In the meantime, I just halved some cherry tomatoes, and then I topped and tailed the garlic and just chopped that up roughly. And then into the pasta water, I added the rigatoni and then just cooked that along. Now turning back to the courgettes, I added some of these chili flakes, and then I added in the cherry tomatoes as well, mainly towards the end of the courgette cooking, and then added in some of the pasta water to get that nice and saucy in the pan with the chili. Then it's time to add your pesto. I added around 2 teaspoons of pesto to start off with, but add as much or as little as you'd like, just depending on your taste. Once your rigatoni is cooked, you can just transfer it straight into the pan. Again, you don't have to drain it, reserving that pasta water because it makes it beautifully creamy. I added in a good spoonful of creme fraiche and stirred that together to make a wonderful creamy pesto sauce. Added in some fresh lemon as well, and some of that lovely rocket or arugula, and stirred all that together as well. As you can see, it's looking a bit dry, so I added some more pasta water and some seasoning, so some salt and some pepper. Go light on the salt because the pesto can be quite salty. And that is it. I stirred it together for around 5 minutes until it was beautifully creamy, and then just served it up. Really easy, nice and green, and absolutely delightful. Topped with some fresh parmesan, of course, and some black pepper. That is your lovely pasta alla pesto done. So I really hope you've enjoyed this, guys. These are my top 5 dead easy, dead simple pasta recipes. If you have enjoyed it, as always, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you could click subscribe, that could be amazing, and I'll catch you all very soon for more recipes to come. Bye for now.